Thank you, Carol. Well, good evening. This is Wilson, and November 6th, Echo Mike Foxtrot, your net control operator for the River City Arcs Slow Scan TV Net. This net serves for training and practice in image transmission modes and meets Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. on the N6NA repeater on 441.30 megahertz. River City Arcs members and all licensed amateur radio operators are welcome to participate. Drop. If you wish to join the net or need to make a call at any time, please announce your call sign between transmissions and net control will acknowledge you. If an emergency should arise and you need the repeater, please contact the net control by saying break break. A double break signifies emergency traffic. The net will stand by for you until the emergency is terminated or traffic is moved to another channel. Drop. Stations who wish to check in are asked to respond with their full call sign using the recognized ITU phonetic alphabet and their name. I will recognize each station before continuing. Drop. Any station who wishes to check into the net, please come now.
Good evening, Alpha India 6 Delta Golf. Kilo Lima 7 Hotel Quebec Romeo Neil.
This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta Carol.
All right, I have AI6DG, Joel, good evening. KL7HQR, got Neil. KP4MD, Carol. And do we have any other check-ins? All right, I've got you 3 checked in, and if anybody wishes to late check in, let me know. N6EMF here. So before we begin, let me just check and see if everyone's ready to go. Well, I guess the way to do it is I'll ask Joel, AI6DG. Go ahead and send a picture when you're ready, Joel. Thank you. N6EMF.
PD 120, here it comes.
I6DG N6EMF here. I've received your picture. Nice and clear, nice, good color. I have a slant that I can fix, but I will tell you that I can see full range of color. I see very little noise, or at least the noise is not discernible with the color array that we have here. But I see some surface mount, possibly transistor, or rather resistor devices, and a regular through-hole resistor, maybe with a cold solder joint in the upper right-hand corner of the printed circuit board here in the photo. I see a surface mount, horizontally oriented integrated circuit, maybe a red wire that's soldered down to a power supply pad, and I can't tell what this is, but it looks like the solder side of a printed circuit board. Looks good, Neil. N6EMF here. I'll turn it over to Neil. I'm sorry, looks good, Joel. I'll turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR, and let us know what you see.
Unfortunately, I did not get that picture. I can see it on YouTube. But here I could not connect. I'm still in the process of setting up the equipment here, so we'll pass it on to Carol.
All right. Well, thanks for that, Neil. Keep at it. I'll turn it over to Carol, KP4MD. Go ahead, Carol.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. Yeah, I'm seeing exactly what Wilson reported there. Looks like a 2% 10 ohm resistor, wired resistor, with leads up on the top, big one there, with a blob of solder on the right side there. And then the surface mount parts, I could see some that when it says 103, I wonder if that's 10K. Then there's two in the lower right hand corner, which is 821, 821. I wonder, is that 800 and I don't know, what is that, 82 ohms? I always I've learned how to do the color bands, but these things with the exponents, I'm just a little confused. I always have to look that up. I think they're 820 ohms each. And yep, I wonder if this has anything to do with that thing you built for the rotor control. That's just what I'm guessing. But yep, you see it there on YouTube. So back to net control. This is KP4 Mike Delta.
Yeah, KP4MD. Yeah, thanks, Carol, for that. I didn't think about the color code, but I see a brown, which is a 1, and a blue, which is, if I'm remembering accurately, is a 6. A red is a 2. I see a black stripe, which I think is a 0, which would mean 162 ohms, but I don't see why there's another black stripe. Maybe, you know what? Maybe it's a high precision resistor, and it goes into extra digits. Maybe it's I don't really know. 1620 ohms, maybe. I'll let Joel tell us. How's that? N6EMF here. Turning it over to Joel, AI6DG. Go ahead, Joel. Thank you.
Yeah, what this is not really important. I think this is a. I pulled this out of the junk box, looking for something of interesting to take a picture of. I think it's just a counter that I blew up in some way. I'm doing for the North Hills Club next month in January. I'm doing a presentation where I'm going to be building a little digital clock, and I'm setting up the station so that I can demo on Zoom while I'm building it. And this is a test of a microscope that I plugged into the computer to be able to view real-time the soldering of joints of resistors and so forth. So I just grabbed a board to test, and this looked like something interesting. So I think this will work great on Zoom for presentation. I think Carol got the values right. I didn't even think about what the values of these were, but it's not a blue band. It's a brown, black, red. Oh, wait a minute, or is it going the other direction? Yeah, these multi-bands I always get confused by. So is it a 12 ohm or a 10 ohm, depending upon which direction you're going? The 103, I think, is a 10K. I keep reading that as a B81, but Carol's right. I guess it's an 821, so it's probably an 820 ohm. And the circuit board for this counter, it's a little counter display, so you can count like how many times a signal occurs. And I think it's used for the same board. They just wire it differently for different things, like an RPM display or other things. So when they wire it differently, they do like that resistor that they just tacked in onto a pad, or that red wire that's tacked in and probably jumpers someplace else. In the center, the light brown things are capacitors. The black things on the right are resistors. And the IC at the bottom, real small spacing on the leads. Unoccupied slot, the U4 doesn't have anything there. In fact, there's a couple of pads to the right of the left of the resistor. I think are also unoccupied. Anyway, and this is not even fully magnified. This is the least magnification. So this is kind of the white zone. If I zoom this in, I could probably look at just a single joint of one of those capacitors. It's amazing what you can get for $100 these days. So many things are going digital. A lot of the optical microscopes aren't so much so anymore. Back to Net AI6TG.
All right. Well, thanks for sharing something interesting. I think we all appreciate a circuit board. And if I could go so far as to throw a little Christmassy in there, you've got the Christmas colors on the back of the board. You've got a little bit of red there. There's some red. You've got green. And to me, those are like Christmas colors. So keep up the good work, Joel. Thank you. N6EMF. Any other comments on this photo? I'll be ready to send one in just a moment.
Yeah, hello. The red band on that resistor, I think, is a tolerance, a 2% tolerance band. So the reading of those the color code actually would be from right to left. It would be brown, black, which would be 10 ohms, and then a 2%. If it's a 10% tolerance, usually it's a black fourth band, and if it's 20% tolerance, there's no fourth band. So I'm pretty sure that's the way that is. Over.
That 2% tolerance is pretty tight. Where did you find that one, Joel?
That's always on the board. I didn't find that, but what is it? Thin film resistors, I think, are very common now, and they're typically 1%. So the 10 and 20% resistors are not the norm anymore.
Wow, I didn't realize that. Interesting. Yeah, precision resistors. I've worked with them in the past, and I've had them specified and made to order, and they're expensive. They can be $10 each, even for like a quarter watt. So anyway, maybe they're not as expensive as they used to be, but with standard values they wouldn't be. But if you had a specific value, which I had, they would cost quite a bit. Anyway, N6EMF. I'll go ahead and send a photo. Just 1 second. N6EMF Net Control here has sent a photo. I apologize, it was Martin 1, but there it is. Maybe I'll turn it over to Joel, AI6DG, for an assessment. Thank you.
Alright, so it looks like it's two portrait mode pictures side by side, actually thinner than portrait, standard portrait. The one on the right is a main, well, I don't know if it's a main circuit breaker box, but it's a circuit breaker box. There's one of the new smart meters on the left smudge side of it, and on the right side wires, and I'm assuming there's the main bus bar with fuses plugged into it. The resolution's a little low. I see red, black, yellow wires. Yellow. That doesn't. Oh, there's the red one there. Yellow doesn't. I don't remember yellow being a normal color. So I'm not sure what that is. And on the left, looks like we're in a. I don't know if it's the same electrical box or another box somewhere, but I see a through hole connector. I forget what those are called. You put a knockout and you put a conduit. Oh, so there's probably conduit on the other side of that going someplace. And a bunch of wires coming out of it with wired twist ties going. I can't really tell what's on the where the wires are going. It looks like maybe there's this maybe the top of the box on the right, because maybe that's the bus bar that the breakers go into on the very bottom part of that picture. Good reception, good color, normal, pause, pops, RGB, back to net, AI6DG.
Well, thanks for the report on your copy. Joel, N6EMF here, and yes, I will say thank you for that report, and very perceptive there. I will turn it over to Neil if he was able to copy KL7HQR. Are you ready? Go ahead. Thank you.
Right, KL7HQR. I solved the problem here. I had all the volume levels on the signal link probably properly set, but the receiver volume was down to 0. So again, the problem was the short between the headsets. Yeah, I confirm exactly the same description of the pictures. You know, the double dots on RGB somewhere on the pictures, but very, very clear. And I agree. I don't know about the yellow wire, but I do see the red, black, and white on the left-hand side with the twist caps. So it looks like somebody's playing around with the main input box back tonight.
All right. Well, congratulations, Neil, for troubleshooting and getting your volume, transmit volume turned up. I assume that's what the problem was. You're using a signal link, right?
Problem. I think hopefully we'll be able to transmit a picture eventually. So please go ahead.
Well, maybe that was a receive volume for you. I'm sorry. Anyway, thanks, Neil, for that. Yes, you got it. So I'll turn it over to Carol, KP4MD. What do you see? Thank you.
Okay, this is KP4MD. I have to say, yeah, I see everything. I see the smart meter up there. I see all the wires with the wire nuts on them, and a bunch of I don't know. It looks like the inside of I know it's not a breaker panel, but some kind of electrical distribution box, and it's probably some project that you've done, Wilson. I don't. I really can't tell, but it came through pretty well. Probably about 2 or 3 dozen little pixelated color pops there. As you know, it's just caused by pave pause radar that's on this band. But back to you. This is Kilo Papa 4 Mike Delta.
All right, thank you, Carol. Let me give an update on what this is. So this, going back to I'll try to answer some of Neil's questions and maybe Joel's as well in the process. But long story short is my house is, I don't know, it's 50-something years old, and the electric service to it was upgraded from 100 amps mains about 10 years ago. 10 years ago, we upgraded from 100 amp main to a 200 amp main, and still there's been some electrical gremlins in the house. I found out recently that we had a 20 amp branch that was feeding 54 amps worth of nameplate load break in 6 EMF. Should have been a drop. I'll take pause. So what that was, garage refrigerator, kitchen refrigerator, microwave, washer, dryer, heavy-duty paper shredder, and a little tiny water pump for a recirc system, or not a water pump, but a timer system for a hot water circulator timer that goes on our hot water heater. So anyway, that sums up to about 54 amps worth of load on a 20 amp breaker. So on a day-to-day basis, it wouldn't trip, but occasionally it would. Occasionally those loads would line up and exceed, 20-something amps and pop, and it usually occurred when getting ready for work or getting kids ready for school, and it's really nerve-wracking. It happens about 3 or 4 times a year, which is just enough to rack your brain. So anyway, I took on a project to basically upgrade the circuit feeding the laundry room, which anyway, what I did was I built 2 new 30 amp circuits from the main and extended it to the garage and separating out all those loads on the different branches. N6 EMF, drop. So everybody knows what Romex is. That's a non-metallic sheet type of cable that's usually used in a residential environment. So that yellow thing that you saw on the right-hand picture is another brand of cable like Romex. So Romex is a trademark, and there's other companies that make that. Well, this company has a yellow jacket. That yellow is it's a different from white or beige because it has I forgot what they call it, but it's like it's an anti-friction type material. So when you pull it through conduits and pull it through different things, it kind of glides through without any lubrication. So that's what you're seeing is a multi-conductor Romex type power cable. In fact, this is a 12 gauge cable that is 50 feet long, and it has a black conductor, a red conductor, which is A and B branch 30 amps, and then a ground kind of bare conductor, as well as a white neutral. And so I pulled this wire up through here into the attic through the conduit, and this is shows the results of a major accomplishment to get this pulled up. So this is kind of hanging loose. It isn't terminated yet on the right-hand side, and on the left-hand side is the before picture. So before, you're looking at a picture of the same box, but maybe a different perspective and a different amount of zoom. So I apologize for that. N6 EMF will take a quick drop.
More questions when you get a chance.
Very good, Joe. I'll wrap this up. But on the left is the before. It's when I opened the panel and I took off the protective shield, and I now am basically exposing the load side bus. The upper left-hand corner shows like a conduit. It's really kind of a conduit nipple. It only extends up above that box I found out about an inch or two. And I had a steel fish tape that I used to try to fish up through there, but it turns out the hole in the top plate of the house, which is about 4 feet up, the hole in the top plate is not aligned vertically with that hole in the top of that box. So as you guys know, I work on cars, and I have a digital borescope for looking inside of engines, and it's a digital camera with with the sort of endoscopic type of camera, what I did was I taped the fish tape. I used electrical tape to attach the fish tape to the borescope camera head, and I was able to, believe it or not, kind of guide the fish tape through the wall and up into the attic that way, which was an amazing accomplishment, because before that I was struggling for hours, and I got this idea. So that's one photograph with two pasted together, and later on in the net I will send another one to show what the other side. So go ahead, Joel. N6EMF here, turning it over to AI6DG. Go ahead.
The OCD part of me is kind of screaming inside, because none of this is to code. I mean, those wire ties should not be there. So have those been eliminated? And I'm assuming then that the yellow is gone now because you stripped it back almost to the top and you have the individual wires coming down. That's how I've always seen these wired. And it sounds like this has been homeowner improvement, not done to code, not done by an electrician, because there's no way an electrician would have wired that many things onto one circuit. It sounds like you've got, like you said, gremlins that need to be fixed.
Yeah, so I'll try to answer one of your questions. Yeah, that yellow Romex type multi-conductor cable is I pulled it in and did not strip back the sheath, because I was, trying to keep that way while I kind of went to the other end to get the other end pulled. It was a picture that I wanted to take and show on this net and to friends and family that this was, sort of the outcome of a major step of getting this pulled into the attic. So that, to me, that the way that's arranged is safe. There's no exposed metallic conductors. They're taped up, so they're there for visual effect for this photo that you can see what it is. The barrel, I forgot what the twist-on connectors that you're finding there. I don't know if you want to say they're not to code, but this was installed by this was upgraded 10 years ago from 100 to 200, and this is a square D box. It was updated by a professional electrician, and it was inspected by the city of Rancho Cordova, and it did pass the permitting inspection. So I don't know that this isn't to code, but I don't see why it isn't. At least it's not an issue in this jurisdiction. If I had to do this all over again, I would do it different, and I might be able to do this myself since I've learned a lot since then. But what I would say is that it's not uncommon to see these types of twisty splices in a junction box like this, even when it is permitted. So yeah, this is fully permitted, done by an electrician, licensed electrician. And if you know that this is not to code, I sure would like to hear about it. But I'm not, seeing why anything that's inherently unsafe here. And let's see, what else? You had another comment. Oh yeah, so the house was built in '63, and it was built before microwaves went mainstream. A microwave is like a 14-amp load. It was built before most people had 2 refrigerators in a home. It was built before VCRs, and everything is just undersized. I mean, most of what homes had previously was lighting load and a TV and a radio and a stove. So, this house has undergone some modernization, and it's got we have a lot of stuff going on here. So, I think just as one new thing came, the previous owner, I'm the second owner of this house, they just kept tapping the circuit. They just kept adding stuff to it over and over again, like every 5 or 10 years or so. They probably kept stacking up load. N6EMF.
So you're saying these are all house original outlets, and it's just that there's not many breakers and a whole bunch of outlets on those, and people just kept plugging things into existing outlets? or is it new outlets that kept getting added onto the same circuit rather than adding a circuit for the outlet?
Well, I would say a little bit of both. The previous service panel didn't have as many breakers. There wasn't they were maxed out on the number of breakers assigned, and this one has 20 breakers, 10 on the north bus and 10 on the south bus. So the previous homeowner tapped the circuit for the refrigerator and the kitchen, extended it to the microwave, extended it to the garage for the other, an outlet for other things that were going on in there, and it kind of took off from there. So that's what happened. And you could see how something like that would happen gradually, and then you run up against the obstacle of, I need another circuit breaker, but it's just not there.
Well, I don't think an electrician would have extended like you're describing. He would have added another circuit. But I see what you're... I retract some of my complaints because you had a good counter-argument. And you bring up the point that this is a replacement box. So what they probably did is the cables weren't long enough to go into the new box. They pulled the cable into the box and then added these ties, the wire twists for that. So that's a good explanation there. And you also bring up a good point of the age and how they didn't have as many circuits back then. They didn't. That's a good point also. The older houses, 50 amp service, 100 amp service, very few circuits. So you had a lot of things and a lot of outlets on a breaker when it was only house lights. So we have so many things now that we plug in. Yeah, you're right. Anyway, back to you. Thanks for the explanation, AI6TG.
Yeah, I'll say a couple more things and then I'll turn it over. But let's see. Yeah, you're right. The pigtails are there because when they pulled the old box out, they had to go. This box is taller in order for it. This is overhead distribution coming in from SMUD. So the overhead comes in overhead, and the box had to remain at the same top height, but it extended downward into the wall, which meant that the branches weren't long enough, so they ended up having to extend the branches a few inches inside the box, and that's not uncommon. The only alternative would have been to go up into the attic, pull those lines all the way back to a new junction box, and then extend new cables to the new box down below, which is extremely expensive. And in fact, nowadays, no offense to any workers out there that have to go in attics, but I've been a homeowner for quite a few years and have observed that anybody that comes to your house to do work, they don't want to go under the house, they don't want to go in the attic, particularly in the summertime. And, you just can't get anybody to go up there and take care of anything. So you're on your own unless you time it a certain time of the year when it's not so hot. But nobody's going to go in the attic when it's 140 degrees in the summertime, and then you're not thinking about doing it in the wintertime. So anyway, I've talked enough about my photo, and if there's time, I'll send another photo at the end of the thing. But let me see. If you don't have any questions or comments, let me see if there's any other comments or questions out there. N6EMF. All right. Well, thank you for the dialogue. I think we got that photo covered. Let me turn it over to Neil. Are you ready to transmit one? KL7XQR.
Okay, we're going to give it a try here. Just a second. Let me get there.
Hi, this is Net Control N6EMF Wilson here, Rancho Cordova. Just want to report, Neil, that your photograph started to come through quite nicely in the beginning. The first 20% or so, I could see perhaps a room somewhere with a Christmassy setting, I think, and there appeared to be a woman maybe decorating or doing something in that environment. And then I started to hear what appeared to be some doubling. It sounded like an echo, or somebody was transmitting some SSTV tones at the same time. And I thought I heard some DTMF tones, but I could be mistaken. But anyway, that disrupted the picture and caused my decoder on SSTV to think that the picture was starting all over again. And I think I lost the whole thing, and maybe the bottom 10% is appearing as the top 10% with nothing but noise. So I apologize, but that's what I can see on my end, and I'm not sure if that's what everybody else can see. What I should do is turn it over to Carol, KP4MD, to see if she has an impression or a similar report.
Okay, this is KP4MD. Well, you can see on YouTube what I received. Very good picture. The top half looks like a picture taken from a ceiling down on a living room, perhaps. There's in the upper left-hand corner, I could see a keyboard next to what looks like a spinet piano. Just talking about the furniture pieces there. Then you have a kind of a sofa, one of these, whatever they call, sectional sofa type thing that goes around a corner. And looks like a lady who's doing something to the Christmas tree there, maybe adjusting some of the ornaments. And very nice, I don't know what that is, a large picture on the wall there. I don't think that's a mirror, that framed picture there. There's another one that's above the piano. It's kind of reddish in color. And a very interesting floor lamp with kind of looks like a tree almost, with all the branches coming off, little balls on the end with the lamps. And underneath the keyboard, there's a ball. I wonder if that's some kind of an exercise ball or something. I don't know. It's a round, clearish color ball. And what I heard a lot of DTMF tones. It sounds like maybe there was. I know there's another repeater on this frequency that's usually out of our range, but maybe there's some kind of propagation going on tonight. We got a little bit of interference there. But otherwise, good. Hardly any pixel pops in the upper half of the picture there. So you have a good strong signal into the repeater. Back to net control.
Oh, well, thanks for that copy there, Carol. I'm struggling here. There could be a local, somewhere close to me, a source of interference, because it was totally disrupted my reception. The bottom half is, I was able to go back through the history, pick up the top 50% of the photograph, which was much better than the bottom half. Nothing but noise in the bottom half. So thanks, Carol. In N6EMF, I'll turn it over to maybe Joel, AI6DG.
Carol got it pretty good. With lots of decorations. Someone's very much into the mood. Yeah, the first half was excellent reception, and the bottom half was the YouTube site has pretty much what I had, and it's a whole bunch of bars. Sounds like doubling DTMF codes. Don't feed the trolls. Back to net, AI6DG.
All right, thank you, Joel. Well, Neil, it looks like you have a pretty festive and very Christmassy environment there. Why don't you give it a whirl? Tell us what you sent. Thank you.
very well. What it is a picture of last year's. Everybody shows the final work. This is my wife was taken from the upstairs, landing on the stairs, going down into our living room. It's my wife putting the final touches on the Christmas tree in our living room. And this is work in progress. And if you had seen the rest of it, on top of the coffee table, there are some of the decorations. And also on the left side of the sofa, there is the box of decorations still open, that we're still working on it. And even a vacuum cleaner is there. They're vacuuming the floor. And behind the couch on the left-hand side, just in front of the exercise ball that Carol identified very well underneath the Yamaha keyboard there by the piano. There are a couple of carousels that my wife collects. And so that's what's about it. So maybe we can resend it on another day. It was just my way of getting away from NASA pictures and saying Merry Christmas to you guys.
Well, that's great. Thank you, Neil. Merry Christmas to you and yours as well. And Merry Christmas to everybody who is watching the net. So, Merry Christmas, Carol and Joel. How are you guys? N6NA. Okay, so let's see. Where are we? We can have. Carol, would you like to transmit a photo?
Yeah, very well. Yeah, by the way, we do have Joel on the live chat, and Mike Hewitt also is on the live chat. Just recently joined us, I suppose, and was asking the software we're using. We're using SSTV, pretty much everyone on the net here. And thank you for joining us on live chat. I'll go ahead and I'll send a picture. And this is going to be Martin 1. And here we go. This is Kilo Papa for Mike Delta. Okay, I don't think that, I'm not sure if my MMSS TV audio went out over on the live stream. But anyway, back to net control. This is Kilo Papa for Mike Delta.
All right, Carol, KP4MD. I received your picture, nice and clear. Looks like two pictures side by side in tandem, and 70 centimeter, 3 centimeter flying antenna. And so I guess you've got 3 mylar balloons used to lift what appears to be the antenna element or the antenna. And on the left-hand side, you see clear blue sky in the back on the horizon with the trees at the bottom. On the right, I see the photograph with the gold color cone-shaped item with a cylinder on top. I cannot, maybe I could read, it says Mercury capsule in parentheses, and cannot read the other part. And sorry, I can't, something and something, can't read the text, but it looks like that antenna possibly is sitting on a workbench environment there. So nicely done. I don't see a single speck of noise, rich color. The left photo is just a little bit out of focus, or maybe resolution is on the lower end of the scale, but nicely done, Carol. Thank you. N6EMF. Let me turn it over to Joel, AI6DG.
Excellent reception, although it might help that it's the white background. I think when you've got a color or black is when you really start seeing the defects. I do have a bar right at the top of the left photo, so it's the repeater ID or something. I don't know if those are party balloons or special balloons for flying packages. I know I follow W5KUB in some of his ballooning activities, and I know from listening to him, I've picked up that you can go all the way from standard party balloons up to real fancy, expensive, special gas-tight balloons. I don't know how far in that these are. I do see that it looks like they're launching it and they're full, so that must mean that these aren't intended to go very high in altitude. Otherwise, they would burst, unless that's the objective, is to go up, burst, and then retrieve the package, which looks like an upside down dish antenna, or with the tube going out the back of it, or if you look at it the other way, it looks like a laboratory flask for chemicals. So I'm curious just what's in there and what part of it's the antenna. Is it a dish pointing down? Looking at the right picture, I think the bottom line is a couple of call signs, like N6 something something and K6 something something something, but the resolution is just too low. I'm curious what the weight of the payload is, how far up it went, and how long it stayed up. Back to net, AI6DG.
Very good, Joel. Nice questions. So how about we turn it over to Neil, KL7HQR. Go ahead, Neil. N6EMF here.
Roger, KL7HQR. Well, first of all, I can't really understand why the name Mercury capsule, because that's exactly the shape of the Mercury original capsule, maybe with a cylinder a little bit elongated. But I would assume that it was intended just to be tethered and rise up to a certain height, and just to provide communication, and not to be flying freely to an altitude. Because of the type of balloons, I don't see any indication that there is a parachute, but unless it is inside the cylinder. So there's some questions in there, and it's kind of hard to gauge the size of it, but it doesn't look like it is too, the diameter doesn't seem to be too big. It's an excellent picture. I think is the first one that I've had in the net that I cannot see a single speck of color on it. A very excellent copy.
I would have to agree, Neil. So yeah, thank you for that. Not write-up, but assessment. And we'll turn it over to Carol for, please describe your photo, Carol. Thank you for sending it.
Yeah, okay, this is KP4MD. These pictures are actually from the upcoming program for our next club meeting, which is going to be in January. And uh, these were provided by the speaker, who is actually one of those call signs on the tag there. That's N6GN and K6PZB. Those are the two call signs. I know you won't be able to read those. And what you're seeing there is a experiment using a uh, surface wave transmission line to get an antenna that's really up high. The wire is there's a wire, a single wire, uh, coming down from the center of this thing that looks like a mercury capsule, and it's going down to another device that looks just like the same mercury capsule, but it's pointing in the opposite direction. And what it is a transition from a 50 ohm feed point down at the bottom to it's an impedance transformation to the characteristic impedance of free space. And so you don't have two conductors for this transmission line. It's just a single line, that single wire going up to the top unit, which is those are called launchers. And the one on the top is converting it back down to 50 ohms by just the flaring of the launcher itself. And then there's a transition in there that connects it to an actual antenna that will radiate. So this is an experiment using standard Mylar party balloons to see how high they could do this. And it's going to be an interesting program. Uh, uh, Glenn Elmore at N6GN has done a lot of this kind of work. He's done it also with drones supporting an antenna. And he actually sent so much power up a little single wire uh, this way through a transmission line that he used that power on the top side was rectified in order to actually power the quadcopter that was holding up the antenna. That was quite an interesting feat. So I'm sure he's going to touch on that. But I thought that Neil would get a kick out of the Mercury capsule since he was involved with the space program. So that's my picture. So back to net control. This is KP4MD.
Thank you for the description, Carol. KP4MD. I'll kind of reinforce a question from Joel. He was asking about approximate weight. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, and then what sort of elevation or altitude do you expect on these N6 EMF?
Yeah, I'm sorry I didn't answer all of those questions because I didn't know all the answers. I do know that that launcher is made of cardboard, and the metallic coating on the outside is just it's not straight metal. I believe it's just a like a foil covered type of cardboard. So it is very, very light. It's intended to be light so that it could get up nice and high. And as far as the actual height, um, I kind of remember it was maybe about 200 or 300 feet, if that much. The article is actually online. It has all the details of this experiment he did to see how far he could transmit, and he actually used this on 432 megahertz, and I think he did some testing on 10 gigahertz with this as well, and seeing what kind of distance he could get on this. Back to net. This is KP for MD.
Wow, that's fascinating. Surface wave transmission line. So that's very interesting. Let me turn it over to Thank you, Carol, for that description. I have to look into that. Go ahead. Let's see. Did Joel? Did you have any follow-up questions? AI6DG, N6EMF here.
I'm good.
All right. How about Neil?
No further questions. I appreciate the information, and It is coming up to 10 o'clock, so at my age, young kids have to go to bed before the monsters come out. I want to say thank you for, again, another nice round of transmission, and looking forward to coming back one more time this year, next Wednesday. So I'll say goodnight. I'll listen around for a couple of minutes, then I will be going QRT. Good night, Scale 7HQR.
All right, Neil, N6EMF here, and I wish you a Merry Christmas and look forward to seeing you next week. I'm not sure what the rest of the gang wants to do, but we can wrap it up in a few minutes unless Joel or Carol, AI6DG, or KP4MD, either one of them have another photo. We can sort of ramp down the net unless they want to continue. N6EMF. All right, well, we had a good round of photographs this evening, and since we're talking about the Mercury capsule, I want to recommend to you folks to check out a movie that's available on Amazon Prime and probably other places called Interstellar, and I'm sure Neil knows what that is. Had an opportunity to watch that last night. I won't discuss it or review it here, but highly recommended for our types. And so let me go ahead and get ready to close the net unless anybody has any objections. Drop. Okay, again, I want to reinforce that appreciate coming together this evening, and thanks to all the YouTube viewers. I apologize I didn't write down the call signs and on the chat, but want to wish everybody a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. We look forward to seeing you again next week. And so, again, thanks to all who participated in tonight's SSTV Net. We hope to see you again next week at 9 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday. The net is officially closed at 10 o'clock p.m. Pacific Time. This is Wilson, November 6 Echo Mike Foxtrot, N6EMF here in Rancho Cordova, wishing you all a good evening. 73.